Welcome to Brightly You Radiant Being, the show that wildly recognizes, encourages, and invests in the radiance we all carry so you can shine your brightest. Each episode, we share soul driven advice and topics to help you live more brightly in mind, body, and spirit. Through sharing our experiences, friendship, and passions, we hope to impact you to step more brightly into yourself, inch by inch.
Hi, Amy.
Hey, Tracy.
So you brought up something in the last episode, 91, rewilding.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it made me realize we kind of missed a holiday with each other.
I
Uh,
know.
the autumn equinox. I saw
We
on
did.
Instagram you had shared your beautiful bonfire, and I was like, she's doing a ritual. And I was like, oh man, we usually, the solstices in the past, we've done something together
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
I realized I didn't do anything for the equinox this year. I now know it's because I was fighting off COVID and
Oh,
losing.
right.
I didn't realize at the time just why I was so exhausted and tired. I was blaming it on the stars. I was blaming it on the transition to Libra season and the equinox. And man, aren't these moons powerful? And then like, oh, nope. It was a virus.
Sometimes it's not astrology or,
Uh,
the moon or
Sometimes it's
whatever.
Earth.
Sometimes it's just Earth school.
It's just
And
us.
yeah.
But I was wondering, we never like, although I saw that you were doing all that, you then went on your wonderful writers retreat. So what was the autumn equinox like for you? What was your ritual like? What did it kind of, you shared a little bit in the last episode what came up, but it seemed like there was more.
There was more. I actually wrote, a lot of times for bonfires, especially if we're doing, like the summer solstice or something like that, it's still light outside, right?
Yeah.
But for the autumn equinox, so I did start my bonfire a little bit early so that it was still light outside because I like to have my journal and I like to write and I like to just have it there in case thoughts come to me. Um, so I didn't do like a huge ritual or anything really ritualistic, although I did make sure that I burned some dried herbs and things like that in the bonfire. But so well, I'll just read you. I'll
So
just
it sounds
read
like you
you.
blessed your fire, which is always a great way to start something with intention.
I did. And something that you said to me that someone else said to you that you shared with me has stuck with me, where I think they shared with you, don't let people put their trash in your fire.
Yeah, once you've blessed your fire or set it as an
Mhm.
intent, don't let people put trash in it.
Right.
Um,
Right. So I have to, many times with my husband, I have to be like, don't put that.
That's why I find screens are great, fire screens when you're having when people because my neighbors
Mhm.
sometimes join me if they see me out there and they smoke. So they usually like to if the screen isn't on all the way, they'll kind of sneak their cigarette butts in there. So I've learned to keep my screen all the way shut and then keep the fire poker I use to open it right next to me. So people have to ask permission and then I can be like, oh no, we can put that here. Or no, I have a trash here.
Yeah.
Oh, you can leave
Yeah.
those in the rocks. And then I
So
don't have to like be
luckily,
like, oh, I blessed it, which I mean
yeah,
you
I
can,
have a
but
screen now too. So
oh,
I
there
have
you
a
go.
little one. Yes, so I have a screen now too. So that typically isn't an issue. But so I had my journal and I had candles going. Like I had a bonfire and candles because
Fire.
more fire the better in my book. And so I I wrote, sorry, all of a sudden I was like, wait, what? Well, when I went to Florida with my friend Cindy, one thing she said to me stuck out. She was like, "Oh yeah, that's your quest for the day." And I was like, "Quest? That's my quest." And last episode you brought up quest again with the TikTok, the
The
little girl,
adventure.
the adventurer. And so I was just all like, "Quest. I love quests." And so I'm sure I was thinking about that and so what I wrote was, what if life was an adventure? and our days were filled with quests, and we had our own personal mottos, and even challenges were opportunities to test our bravery and curiosity and cleverness. And then, I mean, so I sat with that, I just wrote it because that's what I do. And I just sort of sat with it, and I didn't really think anything of it, except that anytime someone said, well, I have to blah, 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 I was always like, that's your quest to find the perfect table for that library. And then they were like, it is my quest. And it just became more
Ooh,
fun.
and you take ownership of it, and
Yeah.
you're responsible. You're the only one who can make it happen.
Yes. And then
it just made me feel better. So I had a QNRT session today, quantum neurological reset therapy. Yeah, where it's like a combination of muscle testing and tapping and all these cool fun things to kind of like see what subconscious issues are going on in your life and how they're affecting you.
Yeah.
And I just said, when I asked for the appointment, like I don't feel stuck, but I feel like I'm in a waiting period this year, and it's driving me nuts because last year was like a healing year for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I keep trying to like reframe it and all these things, but when you're like, what if life was an adventure and what if there are quests? You know what? I'm not in a waiting period. I'm just doing side quests. I've just decided I'm not doing the main quest. Like if you've ever played a video game, you can like, hey, do you want to like continue to save the princess, or do you want to help this guy save his bakery? And I'm just like, hey, I love bread.
Let's save the bakery.
So I just
side quest.
This year I'm just doing side quests, and that's okay because it's giving me more money and more health and more whatever you get in a video game, more points, right? Yeah. I'm just like boning up to before I'm ready for the big adventure again. But then you were like, what if you need to test your bravery and curiosity and cleverness? And I was like, fuck the side quests. Like I want to be my bravery. Give me a sword, my dude. Like I want to be back on the main road again.
Yeah. So I sort of feel like this ties into the last episode on, reclaiming the mysterious wild, right? Like, so you could be on a quest to reclaim the mysterious wild. Like, I just feel like it all ties in together. But as always
and that'll get you out of bed in the morning, right?
Yeah.
Like instead of like, oh, I got to go to work today, it's I have to reclaim the mysterious wild. My quest.
Exactly. I love it because it has such there's this different feel to it, right? There's this weight to that, but it's a good weight. So then I started hearing about this other topic, and I was like, hey, this actually kind of goes together with even the last episode.
There's like a way to kick off your rewilding or to kick off your new quest.
Yes. So I started hearing about Spirit Week at schools. Now, I don't know if you want to roll your eyes about Spirit Week or not, but Spirit Week traditionally is the week leading up to homecoming. So it's leading up to this big event, right? And it's to build school spirit, obviously. Duh. Community, sort of like boost the morale, like have fun, engage the students. So there's, dress up day and pajama day and whatever.
Wild hair day. And yeah.
Yes. I mean, I can remember at my school, we had 50s day. Oh, it was the 70s, late 70s. Everyone loved 50s.
Oh, now it would be 2000s day.
Well,
that's a scary thought.
No. Or
1999 day.
Yeah. You'd be like, what? I still have those clothes in my closet.
So during the pandemic, one of my biggest failures was I kept trying to get people in my life to virtually do spirit weeks with me, or even a spirit day, because I just needed something exciting to do. So I was trying to like get people to pick a theme, and then we'd all do it, and then we'd like share pictures or Marco Polos or Instagrams about it, and everybody was like all for it. And then when it came time to like actually do it, like just nobody had the time or the energy or whatever for it. But I was so desperate. I was just like, I'm just sitting here alone. I need a project. I want to be creative. I want to do something, but I want that sense of community,
right?
Too.
Right. So what I was thinking of is not just like a spirit week leading up to this big event, but literal spirit, like your spirit, like your
Ooh.
spiritual. And it's leading up to, it's this week, it'll be leading up to, well, a little bit, Halloween. So
Or
Halloween will be,
Samhain.
yeah, or Samhain. So this drops Monday, October 24th. Samhain is the following Monday, October 31st. It is a solid week. Now, this is your what was in Mission Impossible?
This is your mission should you
your
choose to
mission
accept
should you
it.
choose to accept it.
This message this message will not self-destruct. Your iPod is fine.
So I feel like it could be, so we're thinking of Spirit Week being like a spiritual journey, opening up to your gifts or intuition or whatever you want it to be, right? And it could also be like this quest. So you're on this quest to open up more spiritually and do these things, but also fun. And there will be dressing up involved.
So, what I love about the concept of this as a week and spirit in general and our spirit is one of the most powerful guided meditations I've ever done was about 20 years ago. And it was from world famous psychic Gary Spivey.
Oh my goodness.
So if you've ever heard about Gary Spivey, he's a psychic. He does a lot of radio shows, but he has this big white wig he wears all the time. And there's a lot of different things you can say about psychics, but I just found him to be the most fascinating and interesting person because he was so well versed in so many things.
Yeah.
But he released a book, Your Keys to Heaven or Your Keys to Something. And with it, it came a little physical CD that I even had to like go and buy a CD alarm radio clock or whatever at the time. Because nothing, even when even 15, 20 years ago when this happened, I didn't have a CD player anymore. Things were going digital. But he talked about in his book and in this meditation how your spirit and your soul are different. Like there's a lot of different ways to view these things or use the terms, but he would talk about how your spirit is actually like your physical armor, like how a knight wears like the chainmail, right?
Oh my gosh, so this makes even more sense.
Right? So your spirit is like the physical armor. And he said sometimes when you're really worn down, when you're lacking a sense of self, when you're feeling disconnected from the higher power, from other people, the guided meditation was to raise your hand and to ask God, source, power, whatever, for a new spirit. And he walked you through this process of like, if you think of your spirit as like a bedsheet type ghost, you know, like those stereotypical Halloween costumes, as being completely tethered and worn and full of holes and thin and raggedy or whatnot, that self kind of gets removed from your armor gets pulled, and you get to see that and see it get healed and see it get to go to whatever, you know, other side that you believe in. And then a new spirit or a new armor is then handed down to you all glowy and fresh and whatnot. And you can do it as many times as you need. And like for me, I was feeling so like spiritually attacked at the time. And not that I thought that like demons were attacking me, but I just didn't feel connected. And I was feeling worn down and I was feeling like I was alone and fighting this fight. And so to have that imagery of like this tattered self, because I was picturing the ghost version of me, but all tattered or whatever. And like that part got to go and be healed and be rewarded for its valiant efforts and everything it got me through. And then I got shiny new gold armor. Like,
okay.
And then to just like wake up and go out in the world the next day, like ain't nothing in my life gonna bother me. I'm in I'm a new knight. Like it was.
What powerful imagery to think about it like that. And also to tie it in with like the quest and the adventure that you've got this shiny new armor.
Well, and I feel like how great to have a week to, even if you're not asking and like trading in, but like having add-ons, right? Like if we think of that video game example, right? Like you get all these power-ups through doing a spirit week and doing different activities. You get all these add-ons to your spiritual armor, your spiritual self.
Yeah. So I was trying to think of like what, I mean, obviously there's some super easy things like literally of course, I'm going to dress up every day.
Mm.
And I'm going to dress up like as dressed up as I can be and still show up for work. You know what I mean? Like, but I know in my heart that I'm dressing up as maybe it's the Witch of the Woods, or
I was just
maybe
gonna say I would dress up as Stevie Nicks. Like you've seen my little tassely shawl thing that I like to put on, and maybe
yes,
wear
and
that black hat.
maybe that's what it is the entire week, but different outfits that
Mm-hmm.
that sort of remind you or that you're expressing yourself that way. So dress to yourself that way that week. Like I am, well, I already shared in the last episode that I am doing that rewilding class. So I feel like I that will actually be over with by the time
Okay.
this week starts, but I'm sure I'll have other things that I would maybe be able to do.
So I feel like so many people, when they think of the spiritual, think of it as its own thing, which it is and it can be, but there's such a tie to our physical selves, right? Like we're spirits having a human experience, and part of that
Yes.
is having a body. And part of having a body, sometimes the maintenance of it gets kind of ho hum or day to day. So I feel like in addition to like dressing up your vessel that's getting you, to be a physical representation of your spirit, like maybe kick it off with a bath, right? Or like something that feels sacred,
Yes.
or something you only do for special occasions or when you have time, right? Like make the time to put on the fancy creams and lotions, to have the bath with the salts or the herbs that
And the
you never
candles.
use, right? Yeah, right. Like the candles you save for a special occasion. This week is your special occasion, right?
Yes.
Like putting all the stuff in your hair and like doing the fancy, like I'm gonna go to bed in the no heat curl robe thing,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna wear
Yeah.
a satin cap to bed, and I'm gonna wear like the finest of face masks, and then I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna put on a fancy or a specific outfit, maybe jewelry that I only wear on special occasions, right? Like whatever feels
And you know
ritualistic
what?
and
That
important.
just, I just thought of this too. Like, and before you get dressed, maybe with like some fancy oils or spray, whatever, you write like a magical symbol on everything,
Ooh, or on your mirror, right? In the
on your mirror,
steam.
on your body with your lotion, right? You,
Oh, I love that.
yeah.
And also, I just thought that, like, okay, so schools have school colors. Like, think about what are your colors,
Oh,
right?
love
Like,
it.
what are your
Yes.
spiritual colors? What feels powerful to you? And then either incorporating those every day or having like one day that week where you're just like head to toe in that
Yeah.
kind of armor and uniform, right? Like, what's your school uniform this week?
I love it. I
Do
love
you
that
have,
you brought up the, oh, what,
I was
what?
like, do you have a mascot?
Oh,
What's your spiritual
ooh.
mascot? Like I joke, if you've been in my house, but so I've always joked that ostrich would be my family crest, or in my family crest if I had one. And I have little thing like I'm not okay, if you know me in life, do not start buying me ostrich project products, okay? Like this is my thing. I have what I want for it. Thank you. 20 years ago I said to one person owls are cool. I had got nothing but owls for 10 years. Okay, anyways, but so like I have an ostrich, a giant ostrich print that I've always on my yard. I have a little, or in my home, I have a little wax seal stamp, and it's like, okay, like that is my family crest, but like spiritually, what animal or what imagery invokes like being a spiritual badass or being rewilded or like being
Yeah.
my most self?
And what is it?
I don't know. What would it be? Oh,
But see, you could
oh,
explore
and
that during that week. Oh,
I
what?
feel like, well, but also there's some guided meditations where you're supposed to ask for your guide, and it's usually an animal. So you could incorporate
I
that kind of
did do that.
meditation. Are you willing to share what your animal was?
Yeah, my animal was a fox.
Oh, and that's
It
the animal you tend to ask for
it
too.
is. It is. So it came as a fox. But what's funny is when you first said, who's your mascot? At first I was like, well, it's a unicorn, of course.
See, so
But
you could have both, right?
yeah.
And how could you incorporate? So, like a fox, you could dress like a fox. either you
Oh,
could just
honey, I dress like
foxy,
a fox all the time.
or you could wear orange, right? Like those could be
Oh,
your
and
your
I'm
colors,
actually
right?
wearing
That the
orange
fox
right
could be your
now.
mascot, but
Yeah,
then
yeah.
but then there's still unicorn imagery somewhere or something.
Yeah.
No, for me, I did a meditation and I want to say it was like a tiger or some sort of big cat. But as soon as you said like what's yours, in my head this like wise elephant appeared, and I feel like just now in this moment getting that download that no, like an elephant would be mine.
I just
So
have to share this. When
what
I
do you
said,
got?
what's yours? I looked over this way just because I was looking.
It's an elephant. If you're on YouTube 20 minutes in, it's an elephant. um
Anyways, but another thing that what you said, like the colors, because I had thought of like decorate, because Spirit Week, you decorate, right? So you could do some decorating somewhere and whatever that looks like for you. Like, but first, cleanse your space, like do an
mm,
intentional cleansing and maybe cleanse your space every day, an intentional like bells, or if you use a smoke cleansing, be safe and careful and do it the right way. But also I was so happy that you talked about the bath, because I was thinking about I will be intentional and cleanse myself in beautiful ways every
mm.
day. But the decorations, like I'm just trying to think
Well, what's your
again.
school motto?
Well,
And what are your
right?
school affirmations? And what are your school affirmations? Like,
So you keep saying school, and I love that. My spirit school, right? My spirit
yes,
week,
spirit
because
school.
I do want a motto. I don't have one yet, but that is something that would be fun to work on while you're having your spirit week, to meditate on that, to journal around that. Like this is this is not a week for, I mean, sure, if you want to do shadow work during your spirit week, but this should be sort of like the fun week. The
Well, okay, so this time of year, if we go back to what we talked about and base last year's topics around, it's the wheel of the year, and it's the end of the wheel of the year is the
Mhm.
Halloween, All Saints Day, Samhain, or it looks like Samhain if for how it's spelt. But so it's typically seen as like a New Year's Eve because it's
Mhm.
so dark and everything's kind of all the plant life and harvest is going dormant or
The
dying.
final harvest. There's like 17 of them. This is the final one.
It's every 6 weeks you get a new year in this one. But
Yeah.
so this can be like the fun time leading, that fun holiday period leading to your New Year's, right? And
Yes.
what a great opportunity to do these sorts of things and like decide what is my spiritual mascot and what is my personal motto and like kind of like school of life or school of myself, whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it. And to do it this time of year when we don't have the hustle and bustle of the end of the year and of the holidays that tend to come with it. That you can start, even if you're not going to start acting on resolutions or goals or anything like that, like you can use this week to develop it. So when the end of the year comes, you're like ready.
Yes, I love that. And the other thing is I feel like there's so many people out there who wish that they, were more intentional with like doing rituals. And I don't mean like full blown rituals, but just like, oh, I wish I had the time, or I would do this in the morning, write in my journal, or gratitude, or meditate, or maybe it is full blown. I wish that I did spell jars more often. I don't know what it is for you, but take this week and create that time. That I feel like I know that in my own day, my day can get away from me. I can fill it with so much minutia, and just think like I had no time to spend on anything magical or mystical or whatever. But I also know that I just spent almost 3 days doing nothing but writing, and nobody died and the world didn't blow up and it was just fine. And I know that I could find 15 minutes each day to do one intentional thing. And to then, after that, I feel like I would go throughout the rest of my day lighter and feeling more magical and open to other magical things.
So I recently heard a quote, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but it's what resonated with me. So we'll go with it. But it was, take care of the days because the months and years will take care of themselves. And I think
Mm.
so many of us think in the other direction. And so
Yeah.
you get lost doing just what you have to react to or what has to get done, or just being like, oh God, I'm tired, so I deserve this break today. And the first things to go are the little rituals and all are the little things
Mhm.
that if you were to do those, they would have a bigger impact than maybe what you're focusing on in the moment. Another way to phrase it, because I was just trying to see if I could look up the quote, but the only thing that came up was take care of the little things and the big things will take care of themselves. And so I feel
Mhm.
like if you, like you said, created that time, if you made the time, because you're not going to find it, you're going to have to make space for it,
Mhm.
to do these rituals, they will build up into bigger magic and bigger rewards without even knowing what that is and what you're working towards.
And I think too, there's so many mundane things we do throughout our day that it would take just a little tiny bit to turn those into magical things. You take a shower. Well, maybe you use a beautiful, salt or sugar scrub that you've whispered intentions over.
Or even just like using that time, you're already in the water. Things are physically, being washed away from you. Maybe instead of, blasting music or the news or having a conversation while in there, taking those few minutes to imagine spiritually being cleansed, to imagine
Yes.
those little things or thoughts to being rinsed away from you, not just the dirt from your day to day life.
Yes, I love that. Your morning cup of whatever you have. Take a spoon. You know what? Don't take a spoon. You pick out a spoon, and that's your magic spoon for the week.
I bought a magic spoon
I
that's
have,
long and gold and like it looks like a flower.
I have a magic spoon too, but it's wooden. It's wooden and it was carved, and the top of it is a giraffe. But I
Oh,
just decided that's my magic spoon. I decided it like a year ago. I was like, no one shall use this spoon but me.
I use mine. So I make tea. I'm not a coffee drinker, but so I have
Mhm.
this herbal tea that I already, for many reasons, feel like is a magical tea. But so I use that spoon to stir in honey, and instead of just being like, oh, I'm doing this for a sore throat, or my tea tastes fine without it, but I'm like, I'm adding a little sweetness to my life today, and I'm both figuratively and literally adding sweetness to my morning through that act of just like, because I could just squeeze the honey into it and be like,
Yeah.
it's gonna melt, right? But instead, I put a little bit on that little my magic spoon, and the spoon is just gorgeous and pretty, and it's a beautiful thing to have in my life. So I'm just excited to get to use this very impractical tool that would not function as a spoon in any other
But so for this
capacity.
very mundane thing, your tea,
Yep,
right? You've already created because you were already in your mind. You're like, my tea leaves are magical.
it's my magic
And I
tea.
have beauty. I have this beautiful magical spoon, and I'm being intentional with the honey and how I'm stirring it. And it doesn't take you longer to make your tea?
Mm-mm.
Probably not. No. So I think if you can fold things in to your day, but honestly, it would be a lot more fun if you could just like, okay, work, I have to take off early for Spirit Week. We're having a pep rally at 2. So,
Okay,
I
so
mean,
let's say Monday or whenever they're listening to this, day one is to physically cleanse. So whether that's tidying your space and
yes.
doing it with ritual or with smoke or with
Mhm.
intention, with light, with noise, music, but then also with your own physical body, just getting yourself ready for
Mhm.
just treating it as a little bit more special. Maybe pick out your outfits for the week. What does like day 2 through 7 look like
Yeah,
then?
so I think that that's up to everyone who wants to do this. But for me, I feel like day 1 is sort of that the cleansing, but then also just sort of maybe in my head, maybe on a magical piece of paper, a beautiful piece of paper, and I'm using a beautiful pen to write it down. It's like my my motto, my quest motto, or whatever. And then I have that in front of me so that that's sort of like, I know that I want to come up with something for that.
Ooh, so you have to have your kickoff, right? So your
Yeah.
pet fest, something's happening to let everybody know like this is day 1, get it set in your mind. And I just had the idea of like what's my playlist for Spirit Week? Do I have a
And
Spotify
well,
playlist?
I know you will have
I'll have a
one and you
bunch.
will share it with me because I am not a playlist kind of person. I'm an album person.
Oh yeah, so what's your album?
Yeah, what would my album be? I got to think about that one.
So, but I think that may come from too like what is it like why do I need a Spirit Week, right? So like I mentioned before like getting new armor, right? Like to just be spiritually ready for this new spiritual year or whatever you're working on. But like if once you get your motto down or your affirmations or your intention, then maybe work on the music side of it, right? Then
Mhm.
maybe find something else so that when I am at work, I can play that playlist. So even if I can't take off early or stop whatever I'm
Yeah.
doing, when I am in the mundane, I can still be participating in Spirit Week. We're
Yes, I love
reminded
that.
not to step away from it just because I'm a little tired that day or because something came up or something went wrong.
Yeah, and you never want to beat yourself up over, not having a spectacular day in Spirit Week, right? But I do like those little tiny reminders like this is your Spirit Week. And why you would want to have a Spirit Week for myself, I mean, I can answer for myself. It is sort of that reset for me. It's like, yes, this is who you are. And this does sort of go into last week's episode as well. This is who you are. You can make space for these magical things. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be heavy. It can be fun. And I feel like it's one of those things that the more you allow space for the magic to come in, the more the magic will want to come in and the easier it'll be for it to come in for you. I also feel like how sometimes for me, if I decide I want to do like, oh, I'm going to do this, autumn equinox thing. And then I have to look for this over there and get this thing from over there. And where's that other thing that I have?
Oh, how many times have I forgotten what phase of the moon we're in and now I'm shit out of luck for another 28 days? So I wasn't ready, right?
Well, and actually, I think that's a great thing to do for the week too. Intentionally look at see where the moon is. What phase is the moon in? Yeah. And I mean, obviously, we just had a full moon. So it will, where are we? What's the date? Oh, the 14th. So whoops. No. So it'll be the
So the
24th.
new moon will be on Tuesday the 25th.
So
So
now
if you kick this is kicking off your moon cycle, if you listen, you know, time is a social construct, so don't worry too much, right? Like the universe, the stars, they get your intent. So even if you're listening to this in December, like it's cool,
you're
have a
fine.
Spirit Week,
Have
right?
a spirit
But
week.
if you are doing this kind of in real time with when this episode drops, what a great way to kick off following the phases of the moon. By
Yes.
this week, Spirit Week is the new moon kind of week or a few days, and then whatever it is that you're starting or the intentions you're putting out into the world, you can start to work on them and let them grow as the light of the moon grows. And then when the full moon happens 2 weeks from now, you can kind of take that as an opportunity to see what you need to shed in order to, keep up with whatever you
Yes.
created during this
You can
period.
also use that as an opportunity to look at what you have created and be grateful and celebrate as
Yes.
well. Yes.
Oh, how fun. So I feel like for me, it would be probably daily meditation with some sort of
Mm,
intent around spirit or self or whatever I'm
mhm,
working on.
mhm.
Working with, that animal representation of a guide, if that comes to me. Um, Probably fire, writing things down and burning it,
We
right?
we loves us some fire.
I mean, way back in the day in like the 50s and whatnot, didn't school's Spirit Week like end with a fire before the big game and they'd like
Mhm.
burn an effigy of the other team?
Yeah, it would be a huge bonfire. I think they still do that at some universities.
And
Mhm.
Halloween, All Saints Day, Dios de los Muertos, Samhain, like all these cultures, the 31st of October through the 1st and 2nd of November are a big deal when it comes to the spiritual side of things. And so it's a good time to burn stuff or to ask for stuff or to connect with self and
Mhm.
connect with ancestors and things like that.
So you just said something that I really want to just point out. You ask for things. If you literally ask, if you are intentional and you've cleared your space and you are just kind of focused, maybe even if you're not focused and there's crap all over you, you can still ask. You can just be like, I am asking for whatever, to be able to follow my intuition better, to be able to hear my ancestors better, to be able to whatever. Sometimes you literally have to ask for what it is that you want more of spiritually in your life.
Oh,
So I
oh,
hope everyone joins us for this. And in fact, what I thought I would do is post in the stories the different outfits
on
or
Instagram and the
different
different,
things.
yeah. So join us on social media to
Yes.
see our Spirit Week, and we would love it if you
Yeah.
tagged us in yours. You can find us on Instagram and YouTube under the Brightly Podcast, or if you want to email them to us at brightlypodcast@gmail.com. One, we'd love to see them. And two, if you're okay with us sharing that on our social media,
That
please let
would be
us know
fun.
as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, give us some love on your preferred platform with a rate, review, or subscribe. And we look forward to seeing and hearing about Spirit Week.
Yes. And with that, we hope you have a bright and beautiful day and go Spirit Week.